In 2012, the summer before I started teaching, I attended a new teacher institute. And when I was there, the biggest piece of advice that everyone kept giving me was when you walk into that classroom, whatever you do not smile. If you smile before December, the students will walk all over you. That is what I kept hearing over and over and over again. So when I walked into my classroom, that's what I did. It is true that Baltimore City is the most dangerous city in America, according to USA Today. So what that means for me in my classroom, what I've learned is almost every single one of my students knows someone who has lost their life to gun violence. And what I've learned is when my students walk into my classroom, they need me to smile. They need me to be that person. Because when I'm not smiling, I'm treating them like they've done something wrong. Because any other school in any other suburb, it wouldn't be acceptable to have students walk into your classroom with a straight face. As a mother, I would never want anyone to be teaching my child who couldn't be friendly with them, who couldn't treat them like a person. Which leads me to the fact that student relationships are the single most important indicator of your success as a teacher. There are three major ways that I believe that we can really foster and develop relationships with our students based on research and based on my experiences in the classroom. First, we need to create a classroom that embraces both love and logic. So Jim Fay came up with this idea of making sure that your classroom really feels comfortable to everyone, making sure that we're really holding our expectations high, that we are focusing on what brings out the best in all of our students and giving them that respect. So we want to create a really social and emotional safe space. One way that I've been able to do that is by sharing different commitments with my students so that they know my expectations up front. I never like to leave them with surprises. Another thing that I've really adopted from Jim Fay and his Love and Logic classroom setup is the fact that I don't have a list of rules anymore. What I like to do is just have this idea that I share with students. Don't do anything that will harm anyone, whether that be physical harm or a distraction from their learning. So as long as you're not harming anyone in my classroom, then we are all going to be okay. So ever since I've adopted that mindset, it really has helped my classroom management and my relationships with students. Another way that I create a Love and Logic classroom is by utilizing restorative practices. Each morning we start our class with a circle. During that circle, I'm focused on connections before content. So there's this rule, it's called 2 by 10 that Jim Fay talks about. He says if you focus on what students are feeling, on students' personal lives, 2 minutes a day for 10 days, you've got them. You've got that relationship. So I do it every single day because I want to know what's going on in my students' life. I need it so that they can understand that I care about them as individuals, but I also use that information to drive my instruction. I need to know what interests them. I need to know how they're feeling. They need to know how each other are feeling. Additionally, I like to show them that I care about them. So around Thanksgiving time, just like I would anybody else that I care about, I write them each a thank you note. And in that thank you note, I make sure that I note what it is that I'm thankful for about them. As a student, how I like to see their work, improvements that I've seen, but I also might say something like, I like how you walk your little brother to school in the morning. I think it's so great how you hold his hand. You're a great big sister. And when I say things like that, again, I'm showing my students that I see them as people. I see them as individuals, not just test scores. I also understand that when my students are older, that they need to know how to bring out the best in other people, and they need to know how to react and interact with the world in a positive way. So I try to do fun little things that I enjoy, that I know that my friends enjoy in the classroom. For example, one day they came in and I had a Hershey kiss on each of their desks, and they were so confused because it was a Wednesday morning and nothing special had happened. And I explained to them, this is just something nice that I'm doing for you. Sometimes people do nice things for others for no specific reason. So what I want you to do after you eat this candy today, I want you to find some other way to be nice to someone. You don't have to give them anything, but just to show them that the world is a good place, that we can be nice to each other. And when I treat them like that, they really start to understand that I care about them, that it's not all about academics, but at the same time, it is, because if I can treat you like this, you're going to trust me to teach you anything. Treat your students with the same respect that you would treat your coworkers. The second way that we can build relationships with students is making sure that we're culturally responsive. A book that I read over the summer had this very powerful quote. Students quickly receive the message that they can only be smart when they are not who they are. This, in many ways, is classroom colonialism, and it can only be addressed through a very different approach to teaching and learning. What that means is we need to take our students' cultures into consideration, the music they like, their backgrounds, because not everything is about the white culture. Not everything should be teacher centered. We really need to take more consideration into the diversity that our students bring with them and what they already know. One way that I do that is by allowing students to pick the topics of their presentations. I try to give them as much choice as possible. So when my student made her presentation, Black Girls Rock, there was no question about why she did it. Everyone embraced it. It was a really great way to show the students that we can celebrate different cultures and it's okay to talk about ethnicities, diversities, race, because it's a safe space. The Brown University has a list of culturally responsive principles, and one of them is reshaping the curriculum, allowing that diversity to come in, making sure that your curriculum is student-centered, but also just making sure that your instruction is culturally mediated. So I take the curriculum, we're learning about decimals and fractions, and I say, how can I make this real for them? How can I show them that there's a connection between their home and what we're doing at school? And I say, go home, find decimals in your community, find them in your house, you will. Find fractions, let me see your community, bring them in, I'm interested, I care. And when I do that, then they really, again, they see how there's a bridge between what we're doing and what they need to know for their lives and what they want in their futures. Again, I ask them, bring from your house some ads from the grocery stores that you shop at. Let's see how this math is going to help us in the real world. Let's find the total of a grocery bill. Let's see which stores are the best to shop at so you can let your parents know. The third way that I build relationships is making sure that I center my instruction around the needs of my students. Harold Tomlinson describes all these different ways that we can differentiate our instruction to make it student-centered through climate, through the products that we have them create, through the process that we have them create those products, and through the content that we're giving. We can kind of gauge that based off student readiness, their learning profiles, or even their interests. So in my classroom, if you are standing up, that is okay. I make sure that I give them all kinds of different activities throughout the day to work on so that no matter what they're interested in, they're going to get to practice. One of my students was labeled as having severe behavior issues, but I let him learn at the way that he wanted to learn best, which was on the computer. And he started at a first grade level at the beginning of the year, and he ended on a fourth grade level because I left him alone and I trusted him to take the goals that we created together and just to flourish. And he was comfortable in his environment. So as you can see, he went from a first grade level to a fourth grade level, and I'm sure by the end of the year, he will be on a fifth grade level. We need to get our students engaged. We need them to be having fun. So if we're making games about Candyland and learning about fractions at the same time, that is great. Also, I like my students to be able to bring what they love into the classroom and share it with me, which is why I have this video that makes me so happy to hear and to share. Thank you so much for previewing my TED Talk. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me.